One of the most common questions I get asked in the personal development space is, how do you defeat procrastination? How do you overcome it and solve it? Now, this is a common issue, not just in personal development, but in terms of just people trying to improve their lives, even young students. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you what David Goggins' secret to procrastination is. This is from his audiobook commentary of his book, Can't Hurt Me, which profiles his life. It's kind of like a memoir from his childhood all the way to adulthood. It's a very popular book amongst young men, and after people kept mentioning it, I decided to read it and found some useful insights. If you're not familiar with who he is or his credibility, he basically had a tough childhood. Then he grew up to become an adult who had a mediocre job, super obese, and didn't like anything about his life. He had massive credit card debt, and one day he decided to change everything and just commit. And he ended up losing a lot of weight, becoming a Navy SEAL, joining a lot of elite Army, Navy type of uh, positions. Some he didn't make, but some he did get to the stage where he was accepted, and ended up also breaking the world record in pull-ups done, as well as uh, winning certain ultra marathons. We're talking 100-mile runs. And so, what was his story and his secret to procrastination? Well, um, it's basically, at least this is work for him. It's not going to work for everyone, but for him, what he did was he kind of had that extreme personality, so he kind of took it to extreme. So he set these looming deadlines that he had to hit, no matter what. And so there's no real way for him to procrastinate because he had to get it done by these deadlines, or something big would happen. And the first big one was when he was super overweight, like 300 pounds, and he set a goal to be a Navy SEAL applicant. Now, the Navy SEALs have a requirement for a certain weight that you have to be under to be an applicant and audition for Hell Week. And he had this huge goal. And for him, I found his personality was he would set goals that were oftentimes too hard to hit. And I wouldn't say that's a healthy habit. Like, oftentimes it cost him a lot. Um, but for him, he had the extreme personality, which not the healthiest way of doing it. You could probably set less crazy deadlines, but he ended up having to lose over 100 pounds in 3 months to get that done, which was just a bit too extreme. Even in his commentary, he says you don't want to necessarily do it like I did. You want to do it more gradually. But that was one way, and of course, it caused a lot of suffering. He went to bed hungry for many nights. But he was in a dark place and he just had to get out. And that was his way of doing it. He set his sight on becoming a Navy SEAL. And then even with the ultra marathon running, it was a similar thing. Uh, he actually, for his first few races, 100-mile races, he had zero training, and he was just like, I'm just gonna do it. The race is in a few days. I'm just gonna do it and commit to finishing it. And yeah, he ended up doing it, but of course, terrible way of kind of jumping into it. Even in his commentary, he's like, you got to do it more gradual, not like me. I think he did end up finishing his first 100-mile, but his feet were just destroyed. He had all sorts of like health issues from that, and his diet was a mess. I mean, I think he ate like junk food, like Oreos the day before. So it was a complete mess, and he recommends something more gradual in between. So don't necessarily do it like him, but set these deadlines that make your heart pump a bit, and that you have to get done. So if it's a 100-mile marathon, maybe chunk it out. So why don't you first try and finish a half marathon? Maybe give yourself 2 months or 3 or 4 months of prep time to train for that half marathon. Then once you get that done, give yourself 3 or 4 months to train for a marathon. And then once you've got a few marathons under your belt, uh, maybe do the ultra marathon. The point is, it's got to be something that's, you know, close enough that it makes your heart pound, and then you have to commit to it. You have to do it, but not so far out that it's just like you can always defer it, and um, for it to have real consequences if you don't get it done. For him, you know, he some people might be like, oh, I would just wait till the next Navy SEAL application cycle, and that was just not an option for him. He had to get it in that in those 3 months. He had to lose those 100 pounds because he didn't want to wait till the next year or next cycle. He knew that if he did, it would just go on forever, and he might have continued procrastinating. So that's the tip for you for beating procrastination. Try it out, like and subscribe.